Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Unlocked Show. As you guys know, I'm your host, Tracy Wilson. Today, I'm excited because a couple of weeks ago, actually back on the 4th of June, I had the amazing guest that I have back with me today, Daniel Alfron, and he's been, he came to me a couple of weeks ago and we talked about all things LinkedIn, and it's been pretty exciting since, because after that show, Daniel was kind enough to go and actually have a look at my LinkedIn profile and say, hey, Trace, you need to do this, and you need to do this, and you need to do this. And since then, I have been knee deep or neck deep in LinkedIn, figuring out all things LinkedIn, and I found a whole lot of super cool stuff. After that last show on the 4th of June, I said to Dan, hey, this was such a great episode. I would love to have you back as a guest again on the Unlock Show so that we can really delve deeper into, let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit more in terms of LinkedIn. And he so graciously said, yeah, absolutely, let's do it. So today's show is an extension of June the 4th show. So what I want you guys to do, if you're tuning in for the very first time today, what you want to do is you want to watch this in conjunction with the show that Daniel and I did back on the 4th of June. And the 4th of June's show was titled What to Do on LinkedIn to Get Results. Now, like I said, today's show is an extension of that. We talked about all sorts of things in terms of how to set your profile up, etc. But I want you guys to scroll back either on YouTube, on Facebook, or if you're listening to this as a podcast, go and find that episode, listen to that first, then come back to this one. And like always, I want you to implement what you learn, because I can tell you it will make the world of difference to your profile on LinkedIn. So I want to say that this man deserves a great introduction. You're going to hear all about that on the 4th of June's episode. Today is simply, hey, Dan, come on back. Let's share some more LinkedIn stuff. And he said yes. So I took the opportunity to get him back as soon as I possibly could. So thank you so much for sharing all the information you did back on the 4th of June, B, following up and making sure that I understood what I needed to do with my profile. And then thirdly, or C, being kind enough to come back and share more of your valuable information on another episode. Thanks for being here.
Well, Tracy, thank you very, very much. I was looking forward to this.
Awesome. Well, last time we spoke, we talked a lot about how to set up your profile, what we should have on there. We talked about the fact that we needed to, we really need to start thinking about our LinkedIn profile as more of like a website rather than a resume or a CV, as you would if you were looking for a job. We're talking for business owners and for entrepreneurs, right? So we've talked through that. We talked about our focus needing to be more so on our profile page rather than our business page, because there's some real big changes that I've seen that have happened over the last little while in LinkedIn that make that some extremely valuable real estate. So let's talk through, and I'm happy. I said to Dan, I'm happy for you to, I'll go out on a limb here. We're happy for us to share even my profile so we can see some of the changes, some of the before and afters, maybe, and even some of the things that I've done that are, I think have made a significant difference to the level of influence and authority I now have on LinkedIn, but also the way in which my profile has been set up. So I'm going to let you kind of take the reins from here for a bit, Dan, and you can talk through, where you want to go next with this.
Thank you very much. So in really 30 seconds, I think the 2 points I would remind our audience here about the ending of our June 4th episode was your first question: does LinkedIn need to be part of your marketing strategy as an entrepreneur? And then deciding what would be the first step for you and how much time you can dedicate to LinkedIn on a regular and consistent basis. And now we can try and help those entrepreneurs better, but further leveraging the LinkedIn platform. So I'm going to share my screen with your permission.
Beautiful.
And
you go for it.
Cool.
So I'm just going to
And
let everybody know, guys, if you are listening to this as a podcast version, because we're going to be sharing our screen today, just know that you can also find the video version of this, which I think you'll find very useful. Go to Tracy and Wilson on YouTube and you'll find this episode there. I'll also link in the description section of the podcast, the link to the live show version so that you can see the screen.
excellent. What I would start with actually is the funnel. As an entrepreneur, we think often about our business funnel and our marketing funnel. And what I've done here is simply transform the regular funnel into LinkedIn. This is part of my book. So our responsibility or our wish is to help as many of our ideal audience as possible to discover us and then go from the top of the funnel to the very bottom of the funnel where they would usually reach out to us, Tracy. And I'd like to focus on top of funnel. And that means when we look at your profile, what we see above the fold are two elements. One is the visual element, the banner. And your banner makes everyone stop and read this and understand within a second that they need to read more about you. Even if they came here through search or have never heard the Unlocked show or know nothing about Tracy Wilson, that simply uploading a banner makes you stand out from 99% of LinkedIn users. So if you're looking for actions you could perform, if you don't have a banner, think about the right banner for you. You could use Canva. You can have maybe an existing visual that will make people understand and grasp instantly why they need to learn more about you. And I'll read this. It says influence and authority strategist, Tracy Wilson, and a link to your website and your handle. Other than that, we see the profile photo that communicates nicely with the banner itself. If you can check one more thing, click on your own profile photo and make sure it's visible to all LinkedIn members, because my guess is maybe 10 to 15% of entrepreneurs have profile photos that are unseen by non-connections, and that's a pity. So simply click on your profile photo and make sure it's set to be seen by all LinkedIn members, because members with profile photos get up to 24 more views than profiles without photos. Because what we would imagine, if we look at someone and we see no photo, then we would imagine that those people have less, their profile tends to be less up to date, and we would simply not click. So make sure you have a nice headshot and make sure it's visible. That's the banner and the photo. The third element.
Those are really good. That's a great point that you make there, particularly because of the, that data that you shared around the fact that it's going to make you a lot more visible and in this day and age, with us trying to stand out amongst the crowd, you need to be able to use every piece of real estate as wisely as we can. So just that simple change is going to make that big of a difference to, to people being able to see you. Not to mention that when you do see somebody's photo, it just does enable you to be able to connect with them a little bit more, right? We make it, as I say, a picture says 1,000 words. So we do want to use that to our advantage.
Absolutely. And since you mentioned real estate, I'd like to focus on the most important text real estate on our profile, and that would be the headline. So looking at your profile, the text that's glued to your name is the headline. I'm going to read this for our audience. So it says, build your influence and authority with your own live show. Again, build your influence and authority with your own live show. What happens when I read this? I'm asking myself, wait, maybe I need to have my own live show. And then I see that you're a show host, an online business mentor, author, speaker, approachable and practical, Unlocked with Tracy Wilson. But you started with what I see as the most interesting and most intriguing part, and that's build your influence and authority with your own live show. Why is this so important? Because by default, what most people would have is the title of their latest position. So it would say owner, tracymwilson.com. That's not a bad headline, but what you've crafted here is way more interesting for the reader and for your ideal audience than knowing that you're the CEO or co-founder of tracymwilson.com. So
Mm.
this may take a bit more thought, but crafting an interesting headline that is about your ideal reader is one of the best ways to make people discover you and want to learn more about what you offer.
Mm.
Okay, so
And what was interesting when after talking with you last time, Dan, and we were talking through, that headline, I really thought about, using that funnel system almost like a filtration process. So in that headline, also utilizing that as a bit of a filtration, because it will filter out those that I don't want to create my own live show. That's just something I don't want to do. And that's okay. That says that, I'm not going to be able to help those people. I want to help people who are like, hey, that would be kind of cool. If I could increase my influence and authority by creating my own live show, maybe she could help me. So I'm when I crafted that, it was very much thinking about outcome driven, results driven. What is it that my audience might want to do, which is to create their own live show, which in turn enables them to increase their influence and authority within their industries.
what you
So I'd
said is,
encourage people to
yeah,
think about from that perspective too.
it's very important because initially many entrepreneurs assume that they need to cater to everyone on earth. And what you said is
Mm,
very important. We can't. We shouldn't. And that enables us by crafting a specific headline and thinking about your ideal audience, people who want to launch their live shows. You help people who are not interested in that actually disqualify themselves without approaching you. Because what you offer is good for many people, but it can't be good for 100% of people. And if people will never launch their live shows, then maybe you don't want them to even approach you. So
mm,
this is a pull factor and a push factor. If you're too afraid to even consider this, then maybe what we offer is not the right fit for you. But if that's intriguing for you, then you position yourself as part of the solution.
mm. Yeah, it's like, well, now let's have a conversation. Let's explore that further.
Excellent. So the just a
Mhm.
quick recap, the three elements we've discussed so far is the banner, the visual element that stays on top of your profile photo, the importance of your profile photo itself, and the headline. Okay, this is above the fold, and if you have 5 minutes, these would be the three elements to focus on, because if they are not aligned with the message you want to convey, then most people will simply not scroll and they will bounce. They will go elsewhere. So if you can start with these elements and only then consider adding additional features. And that's what we can do now. And I'll share my screen again.
Beautiful.
And when we scroll, we see the featured section here. So the featured
Mm,
section is a very strong visual element. And the question I would ask is this: if we could make our ideal readers on LinkedIn visit our profile and we wanted them to see one destination or one link, which resource or which link would that be? So it could be tracymwilson.com. It could be something else. And what I would advise our audience here is to think about the destination that they want their audience to go to in the beginning of the journey. Top of
mm,
funnel. It cannot be a sales page. It cannot be something that requires them to commit to a 6 month program. It needs to be of more of a discovery content that would make them understand, go deeper and say, okay, this is really a solution that could help me.
Mm. It was, and as we're talking through this, I'll just try and share, I suppose, some of my thought process as I was creating, the page for myself, and I was trying to, putting on my marketing hat and thinking about all the tactics and strategies that we use, from a funnel point of view, to using it as a filtration system, thinking about the traffic sources that we are getting. So whether it's a hot, warm, or cold kind of traffic. So when we reshare the screen, you'll see that there are a number of different elements or featured elements within the featured section in LinkedIn, and what Dan's talking about, where do you actually want people to go? But I overlaid that with, if I have traffic coming to my site, what sort of traffic might it be? I'm just going to re-add this to the screen. It's probably going to be, like all traffic, hot, warm, or cold traffic. And so when I overlaid that to the mix, I'm like, okay, well, if they were, if it was a cold traffic, so they've kind of been scrolling, they've been looking for stuff, and maybe they stumbled across me or were trying to look for me, then what could I provide to them that would allow them to have a bit more of an insight into who I am, learn a little bit more about me, and for themselves, they're going to determine whether or not, do I even want to continue to have a relationship or a conversation with this person? So hence the reason that I put some of the show, I use the link option in the featured image section, and I linked people to the show. And given that it's on the platform LinkedIn, to me, it made absolute sense to actually link them to the episode that Dan and I did back on the 4th of June, because they're on the LinkedIn platform. They're using it, no doubt in my mind that they'd want to know how to use it, to their advantage to get results on LinkedIn. So why not put that front and center? And it's a really let's say low barrier to entry. They can just watch it. There's no opt-in or anything required, and it's very much a relationship, building type offer. And the next is the warm, and then then going to hot. So you can see that I've got listen to further episodes of the Unlock Show, which would be to subscribe to my channel, and then you've got the discovery call. So as people filter down that down the food chain, so to speak, or the funnel, the warmer they are getting, the hotter they are getting. So now they're able to go directly to my diary. They can book in a call with me, and we can determine whether or not they are the right kind of people to move forward with, if I'm the right fit for them. So that's why I just thought I would give a bit of context as to why I put those certain things in that featured image section. And once I really started to think about it, it made a lot of sense to me that you would that I would utilize that section in that manner.
And the thought process you describe is the exact thought process our audience needs to use, and simply their implementation will be based on their own needs. And the cold, warm, and hot analogy would work for them. They would know what is a hot lead going to consume, and what they should show someone who's only discovered them. So the featured section is beautifully said, and so far you have the banner, the photo, the headline, and the featured section, and that makes most people discover a lot more about you. And if we scroll down beyond the activity section, we get to the about section. And what I liked about the way you crafted your about section is that it's story-like. I could almost hear you sitting next to me in a conference, and I would hear this Tracy speaking, and it makes it a bit mysterious to know what was your journey like? Like when you tried this and you tried that and you spent hours and hours of posting and frustration because many people would identify themselves with trying to find the next shiny object and trying this and trying that, and it makes you more approachable.
Mm,
So the about section is a great way for people to understand a bit more about you. Now they're not only skimming, they need to better understand where you came from and what is it's relevant for them. And the way you did it is nice. It's easy to read because there are white spaces and lines and bullets, and that means our eyes start reading, and it's not an effort. And
mm,
many people, when they check out their about section, they would see a paragraph, and the paragraph tells our mind, do you really want to read this? And Tracy, most people don't want to read this. So I would advise
yeah.
them to look at the structure you used in your about section. It makes it simply easy to read. And the more we read, the better we are, or the likelier we are to say, okay, now I think I really need to reach out to you. Simply because if it's not easily read, then it doesn't matter that you have the best copy on earth or that you use the best terms or the best keywords. You need to make it easy for people to consume. Some will read it on their app, some will read it when they run a search. So the visual elements of your about section are excellent and very easy to read.
Mm. And I think putting things like, getting a little bit creative with emojis and that sort of stuff is always good too, because it adds a bit of creativity to it, a little bit of fun, and it breaks up that sometimes that really hard to read text by utilizing things like emojis. So anyway, I have a little bit of fun with it by throwing those in. Something that I also learned is that that section has been expanded to enable us to have like 2,600 characters in that section now, and like you say, most people just have a paragraph. So again, if we're all about utilizing the real estate that we've got, you've got plenty of room there to be able to say what you want to say in a story like format, in a bullet point like format, and really get across what you're wanting to share with your audience, because you've got plenty of room with 2,600 characters.
You're absolutely right. I'd like to remind our audience here that LinkedIn by default will cut and only show people about 3 lines. It will depend on the device
Mm,
they're using, so you need to make those first 2 to 3 lines count. Okay?
yeah.
So if I refresh the page, what we see is the influence and authority method. Claim your spot by hitting that discovery call button, which we've just discovered in the featured section. So it makes sense. And now the story begins, and there's a cliffhanger here after years of trying to figure out, and we see that there's a continuation here, and that would prompt some people to click on see more. So please
Mm,
visit your about section and make sure that the first 3 lines are interesting and easily read. Because if this is a bunch of text that's not easily read, and if it's not a story-like section, many people will simply not click on see more, and you've lost the opportunity to show them about the importance of live shows and everything that's mentioned here. Make those first 3 lines shine.
yeah, perfectly said. Grab them with a hook
Exactly.
to pull them in, draw them in with something, and like you say, bit of a cliffhanger so that they want to read more. Yeah,
Okay.
really important.
Tracy, are you open to experiment some more on your LinkedIn profile?
Hey, why not? The more I'm open for it. I'm down for it. Well, you know me. As soon as we get off here, I'll be in there going, yeah, okay, let's change this and
Great.
change that.
So
So
so far,
go for it.
what we said, everything we've seen was stellar. The banner, the profile, the headline, the about section. If I needed to pick an area, I think you that is good, but you can improve, it's the experience section where tracyandwilson.com here. And why is that? there are a number. This is the most important experience section that people will see, and you've done it for quite some time. But if you compare it to the richness of the featured section, here we had links and the discovery call and the videos and a lot of content. And in the experience section, there's only one thing here and only 3 lines describing everything about tracyandwilson.com. So my guess is you could easily pick content from tracyandwilson.com, the website itself, and easily add it and enrich the information that is available here. Is this something we can try and do live?
You want to give it a go? Oh, why not? We can give it a go. Let me just see if I can jump in there, and if I can get down here to it. Let's just go here. All right, give me one moment. Let me come back here and I'll share my screen.
We're discussing the experience section that's below the about section. So when people scroll, after they see the featured section, they will discover our experience section. Exactly.
Beauty. So we're just here, right? Okay, so if I were to go here, we go to the pencil?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's open that up.
And if you scroll to the bottom, you would see the description.
Grab a whole lot more stuff here, yeah?
Yes.
All right,
you see the number of characters you have is again like
oh yeah, we got like 2,000
yes.
odd characters. Okay, so I we can do it now, or let me just go to my website and see if I've got anything appropriate, which I should, to be able to bring across. Did you have something particular in mind that you would, like in terms of a structure of how you would put that together? Do you have any recommendations on that?
I would imagine that people who got to the experience section after seeing the featured section and reading your headline, seeing the banner, are in a reading mode. They can really consume now and understand who is it that you offer. So I would simply select the information from your website that you feel is missing from what they've seen so far. What would be the next step? Maybe it could be a discussion of the programs you have, or the books that you've written, or the live show itself.
Okay, let me just, what I do here. All right, so if I was writing something like this, I'm on the spot, so let me just think about this for a second.
I'd like to ask you a question around this.
Sure.
Because you mentioned people who want to launch their live shows, and we discussed this early on also. So I'll try to imagine what they may think about. If someone wants to launch a podcast or a live show, some would be willing to launch a podcast and they haven't thought about live shows. I'm not saying they're against it. I'm saying that they haven't really thought about it, because everyone tells them you need to have a podcast. So what would those people think about? They would think about simply having a podcast. And what you could tell them is that there is a difference between a podcast and a live show. And what you could explain is about the advantages of live shows versus pre-recorded shows. And if you described it in what's the one of the greatest benefits of live shows, and there's a real drum roll here, no post-production.
You betcha. All right, so great point. Okay, so I'm just going to get some words in here. I'll critique all of this later and go back. So I'm just, for the purposes of right now, I'm just going to throw some words in here. And like I said, I'll go back and critique it and beautify it a little bit later.
If you want to do this offline, there are two recommendations I could suggest. One is to write elsewhere, write in a doc, in an email, whatever it is like, because this is a bit difficult to use. Or if you're game to start to using it here, there should be a way for you to click on the bottom right angle and simply show it, just be above the character count.
Got it.
If you try to move your cursor and extend it, yes. Almost.
Yeah, I could.
Yes.
It doesn't want to do it. Okay. What I think I'll do with this, that makes a lot of sense though, Daniel, and I appreciate you going down that path and us doing that now. What I might do for the sake of time is I'll come back to this, but I hope that everybody is totally getting what Daniel's talking about here. And I think that point of, really thinking about, adjusting people's beliefs around something is what he's referring me to right now, is that everybody be thinking about, hey, if I want to share my message and I want to increase my influence and authority, the way to do it is with a podcast. But what if I actually showed you a different way? What if I showed you what we would call a new vehicle, a new opportunity in being able to do that, but in a much bigger way by utilizing the power of live video, to cut, because you're then able to stream directly, to an audience live. You're able to stream across multiple different platforms at the same time, which obviously cuts down on your production time. And then, like Dan already said, that there's a massive benefit in doing everything live, because you're not having to do a lot of work post-production. And what it also enables me to do is to take that one live show and turn it into not only a live show, but it also becomes my podcast. It also becomes all of my content for all my other channels. So, in time, I would just recommend that you guys maybe give me, 24 hours or so. I'll get in there and I'll recraft that. But I recommend you just go to my profile on LinkedIn and you'll see how I've crafted, taken Dan's advice and have recrafted that about section in the experience section of the profile. But thank you for that. I will definitely do that. Like I said, guys, go back there in about 24 to 48 hours, and it'll be completely different to what it looks like now. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. And I think what you said in the beginning of your answer here is the ideal text I would use. I would simply need to transcribe it and use it, because when you said it, it made sense, and it doesn't have to be something else. This is the message. Many people.
And just on that note, that's the beauty of doing something like this, right? Is that sometimes you find it a little bit hard to, I've got to think about it. What am I going to write? But if you're able to actually just speak it, just like you could with a live show, you're able to take that live show, transcribe it, and oh my gosh, filled with a lot of gems that you can use for all sorts of different, opportunities, such as your LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile.
Great. So the experience section could have more text like you started writing now, and perhaps the last thing we could mention here is maybe adding rich media to that section. So if I share my screen again,
Mhm.
remember the featured section had a number of visuals and links. So what happens is that LinkedIn only shows three featured section when people visit your own profile. They will see in the featured section, let me load it again. They would see 1, 2, 3, and they need to click to see the fourth and the fifth and the sixth. Okay, so
Mhm.
what you could do in the experience section here is add next to this another link. It could be about the show, it could be about the book, it could be about a specific episode, it could be about discovery call. It doesn't, you can also duplicate content that probably not one of the first three, but the fifth or the sixth could be even duplicated here because some people will simply scroll, and here you can again suggest a call to action for them to learn more and to continue discovering your services.
Right. So essentially, I'd be able to go in there again in the little pencil, the edit pencil there, and further down the bottom where, let me just look. Yeah, in media. So I just just continue to add additional media in that section. That's actually really good to know, and makes a lot of sense for us to be again to utilize the real estate that's available to us.
Excellent. And the last point, minor point, it would take our audience here maybe 10 minutes, but you can have a logo next to tracyandwilson.com if you create a company page. In fact, creating a
Uh,
company page is one of the major benefits is simply to have a logo here. And that would mean you create a company page and then you enter tracyandwilson.com, you select it, and just like you can see in previous employers you've worked for, or even in Business Beyond 5, people will see the logo here. So is it critical? No. But if you've done everything that Tracy has done so far, then investing a couple of minutes to create that company page, or if you create the company page, make sure the logo shows up here, is worth considering.
yeah, great. Then the other thing that I wanted, if we've got time to do it today, to explore is this new feature of creator mode. Because I noticed after our last conversation, as I was scrolling through LinkedIn, I noticed that some people were making use of creator mode and the vast majority are not. So to me, it made a lot of sense, particularly if you are a creator, if you're somebody who creates content, that you would actually have creator mode. And there were a number of, again, as I started doing my research and started looking at it for myself, the number of benefits that I saw in creating that, made it absolutely worthwhile to do so. So should we talk through some of the new features that are available with creator mode and what it actually means to become a creator rather than just having a regular old profile?
With pleasure. Creator mode is an interesting move by LinkedIn, and LinkedIn started offering analytics and specific tools only to people who have selected the creator mode. So maybe in the future, it will be you'll see that most people have become creator mode users because LinkedIn will remove features from the regular profiles, and it would encourage people to do it. So you're one of the first to consider it, and I think it has a lot of advantages. For once, it enables anyone who visits your profile to see three topics that you talk about. So if we look at your profile, the ability to see live show, podcasting, online business, content marketing, and women entrepreneurs is only available since you added the creator mode. Another thing is that enables you to add the bell to the top right here, and that means people can click on that sign, And whenever you post something publicly on LinkedIn, they will be notified no matter how many times you do it. Whereas in general, they would see some of it, but in many cases, they will not. So these are two quick advantages of the creator mode. The third thing is that the default would become follow instead of connect. And your connection strategy is one huge topic that maybe we won't even discuss here. But if you don't want to, if you pick the creator mode, it enables you to get your message across to more people without connecting to people you don't know. So this is one major advantage. And people who would visit your profile, instead of seeing by default the term connect, they would see the term follow. And
Yeah.
LinkedIn also says that whenever you share something as a creator, then there should be 15 or 20 or 20% more views, because people will discover it, even people you're not connected with, because you've used the hashtag of online business or live show. So people who are following them, LinkedIn will push your content to allegedly a bit more people that way. I would encourage everyone to play with the creative mode, turn it on, and it should really take 30 seconds. And it also enables everyone, if we're speaking about live shows, then LinkedIn Live is automatically enabled to all creators.
Mm,
And
yeah.
you simply create an event, and you see the ability to when you specify the type of event, you can select LinkedIn Live.
Mm-hmm. Which is great. And some of the other things that I, as I was exploring, I was just, again, just jotting down like some of the differences and some of the benefits. And the other little thing that I thought was kind of cool was at the profile picture. You're able to turn that from just being a static photograph to actually being a 30-second video. So it gives you an opportunity again to connect with your audience and to introduce yourself. So I thought that's a feature I'm yet to turn on. But I thought that was, I noticed on yours, if you guys want to, see what I'm talking about here, you can certainly head on over to LinkedIn and check out Dan's profile, and you'll see his little icon that is now a 30-second video available. And then having those 5 hashtags available, obviously, as you say, giving us the opportunity to be seen by more people. The featured image section seems to have been able, moved up on the profile, which again was a cool thing. And then social proof. So any posts that we do, then appearing with your likes and your comments and what have you on the page, which I thought was great as well. And you've already covered the fact that we've now got a follow button instead of a connect, become a connection. So there's a number of clear things that I think are beneficial when doing that. Not to mention, well, Dan already did mention this, but our ability, given I'm all about live shows, our ability to actually be able to go live directly inside of LinkedIn, which, if you're wanting to do that and your audience is a professional audience, then you might want to consider setting up your own live show and streaming that directly inside of LinkedIn. But if you do all of these things that Daniel's been talking about, that's going to set your profile up well, so that when you do switch on creator mode and you start, going live, you've already got all of the foundational stuff set up.
Excellent. I want to stress a minor difference, but a very important one, between pre-recorded podcasts and live shows in the way we're speaking now. LinkedIn has launched an ability for you to add a call to action link if you're a creator. Now, this was not yet available when we had our June 4th discussion. Okay, so because we're doing a live show now, we can actually show this as one of the advantages, and the shelf life of what we're saying is the best. And one of the horror stories that podcast producers and hosts have is that they record the show, and if they have a long queue and the episode will only drop in 2 months or 4 months, then some things might change. And that makes the content that they would share in 2 months less accurate and more frustrating from the audience perspective. So live show is the one way to discuss things that are happening today, and without the price of having um, things change within the platforms or the screenshots or whatever it is. And like you said, if you launch a live show, then the benefit you have is repurposing that content. So you really having it both ways. You have the excitement of a live show, and you have the ability to repurpose that content and to reach even more people who haven't listened or watched the live section. And I would say something as a content consumer. When I watch a live show, if there's a minor glitch, I forgive the host because I know it's live. But when I
Mhm.
consume podcasts, I'm less tolerant of having a lot of background noise and cuts and things because it seems less professional. So being vulnerable and having a live show doesn't mean that you need to be perfect. You need to be human. And people will even understand it if, I'm stuttering right now, I'm looking for the right word, but that's fine. We're having a real human conversation. And if this is a podcast, then they would expect it to be pixel perfect. So there are many advantages to launching your own live show.
Absolutely. And not to mention, it takes away all of the, oh my God, I'm going to procrastinate because I wasn't good enough. I stuttered. I need to edit all of that out. And, when you layer all of that on top of, oh gosh, I've just got to create some really great content, it sometimes for a lot of people that ends up in the too hard basket. And it's interesting, we're sort of digressing here and talking a little bit about podcasting and live shows, but I think it's relevant because it's all about creating content, right? And if we find ourselves in the realm of perfectionism, then we end up spinning our wheels and nothing gets done. So I love the live show experience from a hosting point of view, but also I enjoy watching other people's live shows because it's authentic. You get the real deal. There is no it's not like I can do a podcast and then I can go back and edit out all the ums, the ahs, the incorrect stuff that has been said. No, you have to know your stuff when you turn up and you're doing a live show, and it really does, in my opinion, filter out those that know and those that maybe just share stuff that they've learnt from somebody else and haven't really done it themselves.
Yeah. And what separates the best live shows from the rest is also an interesting topic.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So it's we've talked a lot about these 2 episodes of diving deep into LinkedIn. Like a lot, in my opinion, a lot of what Dan has shared with us today, you would have to pay a lot of money for. So I want to make sure that, and there's a lot more to this, right, Dan? We've just scratched the surface in setting up your LinkedIn profiles. If you really want to accelerate your success utilizing LinkedIn, then you now know the person to go to. You would contact Dan, you would have a conversation with him. And in fact, he's been, again, super kind in giving us some freebies. So I'm just going to pop up on the screen right now. If you head on over to Daniel Afron, alfron.com/#freebie, he's got some cool stuff there to give away to you guys that is really going to help you take your LinkedIn your LinkedIn efforts to the next level. And I would go as far as saying, reach out to him, get on a call and see if he's a good fit for you, which I'm sure he will be, to help you, perfecting and really massaging your LinkedIn profile so that you can get the very best out of it and being able to help the audience that you serve. So before we do call today's show to an end, Dan, is there anything else that you think is like, Oh my God, that is just another one of those value bombs that I should have really dropped before we go. And I'm okay if you say, hey, I think that's enough for today. We've already blown people's minds and we don't want to overwhelm them, because I want them to reach out to you and have a chat and see if they can, if they're serious about taking their LinkedIn to the next level. They should be working with you without a doubt.
With pleasure. Maybe I'll mention just something. When I visit your own website, the tracyandwilson.com, I see the Omni Accelerator, the Omni Growth, and the Omni Master. And if we tie it back to the funnel, then I would remind people that conversion happens on your website and not on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And what LinkedIn would enable you to do, maybe someone who hears about what you have to offer now is not ready today, Tracy, to go for the whole route and select the Omni Master and commit to 12 weeks and do this. But maybe in 2 months' time, they will be ready to make the jump or to go to the Omni Growth or to start with the Omni Accelerator. And by moving them from LinkedIn to your own website and subscribing to your email address, you have a lot more control of nurturing them and helping them see what you have to offer. And instead of trying to sell our programs on LinkedIn to people who don't know us, the best approach I would advise people is to select the high quality, evergreen, top of funnel content that is likely to make them say, I want to go to tracyandwilson.com, because there you have a system and there you control it.
That's a really good point. And, we talk about that in some of the programs that I run, as creating a big switch, moving that traffic from traffic that, on LinkedIn is traffic that we're borrowing. We don't actually own that. LinkedIn owns it. Being able to make that switch with some form of offer, adding more value, and having people join your own email and database so that you can continue the conversation. They now become traffic that you own. So I thank you for pointing that out, because I think that's a super important component of any social media platform that you are on, not just LinkedIn, but Facebook, Instagram, wherever else you are, being able to create that switch so that you can continue the conversation in a place that you control. So again, I want to say thank you very, very much for being such an awesome guest and sharing all of your, valuable knowledge. I know it takes years to gather, this kind of information, and for somebody to show up and be so generous in sharing that with everybody, I want to thank you for that.
Tracy, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be on the Unlocked Show for the second time.
Oh, thank you. All right, guys. Well, I hope you've thoroughly enjoyed these last couple of sessions. Just a reminder, if you are listening on the podcast right now, you can click a link below that'll take you to our YouTube channel, where you'll be able to watch the show, because in this particular episode, we have screen sharing going on. So you'll actually be able to see Daniel and I working on my own profile. So you'll get an opportunity to, see behind the curtain there. And secondly, if you're on LinkedIn, don't forget to hit the bell, subscribe, so that you never miss a beat with anything that I'm sharing on LinkedIn. It would be remiss of me to not mention that, given that my profile is now a creator profile and all, and also follow me. And if you're wanting to watch more of The Unlocked Show, then you can head on over to tracymwilson.com, go to the podcasting section. You'll be able to listen to every episode, or as many episodes as you like to, or tune in live on Facebook every Wednesday and Friday at 10 a.m. Brisbane time. So there you have it, guys. That's how you get more of The Unlocked Show. And as I say in every single show, you need to go away and live your life unlocked, which means take the things that we've, shared with you today, go and implement them, and just have a great darn life. Life is far too short. So other than that, I'm going to say thanks very much for joining me again. I'll see you guys on another episode of The Unlocked Show next Wednesday. Bye for now.